they both regarded themselves as being marked out for great things. Genghis in terms of founding a nation and an empire, and Saladin for uniting the Muslim world and driving out the Crusaders. And these were big visions. And that was the first great thing in a leader, is to have a vision of what you want to achieve. And then, of course, comes the character of actually being able to achieve it.
What I found really remarkable while reading your book is how he was able to unite both Muslim parties, the Shias and the Sunnis. That's something only like a real leader is able to do, right?
Yes, the unity of Sunni and Shia is a remarkable achievement. He was himself a Sunni and came from the eastern part of the Muslim world, and the Shia were ruling in Egypt, and they were obviously rivals for centuries, and they can't be fully reconciled. But what Saladin had going for him was a mutual enemy. And great leaders need powerful enemies so that they can focus the attention of their people on that, on the achievement of that vision of conquest. For some time now, for a century now, since his birth in the late 12th century, he had an enemy in terms of the presence of the Crusaders, who had come to the Holy Land, as they called it, the Holy Land, in order to take back Jerusalem from Muslim power and retrieve it for the Christians. And they had set up in the First Crusade in 1099 an enclave in what is now Israel and southern Syria and Lebanon. These Christian entities were the focus for Saladin's efforts to drive them into the sea, as he put it, and to do that, he needed the unity of Shia and Sunni, and without that powerful enemy, I don't think he'd have been able to do it.
How was he able to like unite them, like communication wise? Did he have like any, like, is it mostly just the one common enemy, or did he have any other tricks up his sleeve to be able to unite them?
One interesting thing for me was to discover exactly how he was able to communicate. Ostensibly, all you've got is a galloping horse, and that's the speed with which you can send a message. But that's not quite true, because across the medieval world, there was a whole industry which is very little known, namely pigeon post. The link can be made as long as you have an industry of pigeon fanciers who have got trained pigeons who can take the pigeons back and forth with the armies and release them when necessary with messages on their feet, so that it was possible, for instance, one of the Shia sultans in Egypt to have fresh cherries delivered from 600 miles away almost overnight by teams of pigeons with cherries attached to their feet. Now, if you replace the cherries with messages, you can get a message across the Middle East in a day. And this was what allowed him to communicate so effectively between the most distant parts of his empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that was one of the most fascinating parts. Even though the battles were super interesting, but that part in the book, I kind of like didn't realize like what type of network and type of training that must have been needed and able to like send all those pigeons all around the world, and the amount of percentage of those pigeons that died too. That's like incredible.
Well, of course, you lose a pigeon now and then when they're flying 600 miles. So what you do is duplicate. And this was the sort of mini internet of its time, made by not AI, but by pigeons. And it lasted for centuries and was so routine that very few people actually mentioned it and or the significance of it. And of course, there were even pigeons being used up until the First World War, until the telegraph really took over. So it was absolutely crucial and very little known.
Fascinating. And there's one thing to like unite the people, but another thing what I wonder is how was he able to like keep them loyal to Muslims parties?
The loyalty, well, it's absolutely crucial, and it goes back to his character. He was a generous-hearted person, and as well as being ruthless, which one needs to be in in that sort of military leadership, he was generous both to his allies and his enemies as well. And this gained him a tremendous reputation for mercifulness, which of course is an Islamic virtue, and kept his people loyal. Loyalty also depended on having a shared vision, and his vision was so powerful to drive the Crusaders into the sea that everyone was united behind him.
You just mentioned Islamic virtue. How much did that play a role in his style of leadership?
Islamic virtues were terribly important to him because he was he was totally committed to Islam and to the virtues of Islam. Now, in the Quran, you can, as in all great religions, you can get anything you want from the holy book, and there is a lot of xenophobia in both the Bible and in the Quran, but there is also much goodness, and he was able to focus on this and take all the virtues of Islam and turn them to his benefit and gain loyalty from them.